Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Monday's Lunch and Learn. My name is Will Pedersen. I am the Vice President of Customer Experience here. As always, we will give everyone a few minutes. Sorry for all the background noise. If you have questions, please feel free to type them in the chat window, the Q&A window, or if you prefer, just use the raise hand function. We don't have any pre-submitted questions for today. So if you do have any questions, please let us know. Kind of a bit of a light crowd today. So we'll just give it some time and see if anyone joins. Now it's the perfect time to ask a question, any question. Hey everyone, please let us know if you have any questions today. We don't have any pre-submitted questions from the community. So if you have them, please let us know. I'll be here awaiting an ask of a question, I guess.
Hello.
Hey Chris.
Hey.
How are you doing today, man?
Good. How are you?
Doing well. I think Sabrina just surprise unmuted everyone, so apologies if you're now unmuted. So yeah, please go ahead.
Sure. I have can we do this with report kind of a question?
Yeah, sure.
So a handy feature in reports is the user runtime filters. which I'm reasonably familiar with.
Mhm.
And another handy feature of the reports is you can ask for a step to using your flow to run said report and receive its output as a, into your flow for processing. But I found myself wondering, suppose a user has been using these report filters.
Okay.
And so they got this data set that they're very happy with.
Mhm.
And we have users that today will then use the built-in feature to export that to an Excel spreadsheet.
Yep.
I found myself wondering, would it be possible if I had a button or something like this on the page that would allow a flow to consume what is currently the report result for this user?
Yeah, unfortunately, you can do this, but not through a separate button at the moment. There is a thing called a report action or report outcome handler flow behavior. Let me see if I can find a doc for it. Let's see, report outcome, field action handler, report distribution options. The report distribution flow pop up. How to use report distribution functionality. Thanks. Download, email, any flow. Oh, this is about report distribution, interacting with reports, managing reports. Do we not have a doc for this? Downloading, select, exporting report. That probably doesn't show you as a flow. Report output handler flow. There it is. There is this thing called report output handler flow that you can make a custom download option, but it's still accessible through, like if I pull this up, it's still accessible here through the normal download action. But you can have custom, you see under output type where it says flow one. This takes in the name of the flow for the report action. So right now you can't run it from a separate button, but you can create custom behavior using these report action outcomes. And those are on a report. You specify those here under settings. It'll say output handler. And then you can build these custom flows that'll show up in that drop-down list. That's as close as you can get to your ask right now.
Oh, I see.
But like the actual page itself doesn't know doesn't know like what the filter is being applied to the particular report viewer parts are, and there's not a concept for it to be able to like send those filters somewhere else or to another object on the page currently. If that makes sense.
Sure, but on the other hand, the suggestion is with an output handler, as it were, or custom output handler, the user can then, in some sense, manually say, instead of send this to file, send it over to this other option, as it were, and that would be our way to collect it.
You're right. Yeah, exactly. So I think we can do what you're asking, but not with not in the exact user experience way that you're asking for. Like functionally we can get there, but not with a separate button.
All right, I'll probably have to take a peek at this.
Yeah, I'll drop this in the chat window as well, so you can just have that link easily at hand. But this is a report action flow that you can basically build very, very custom file download formats.
Yeah, that one definitely looks like it may find some use.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Anything else?
That was it, actually.
Okay, thank you, sir. Looks like we have a question here. Does this tool, let me paste this into, sorry for all the background noise. There's a bit of a, oh, she's all over it. There's a bit of a Nerf gun fight battle. There's been a office-wide Nerf gun war going on right now. Does this tool compete with Tibco or Pega? I'm totally new to this tool and joined Ultimertech. I have 15 years experience in Java. I hear the project is in decisions tools. How can I map my experience of Java with decisions? That's a big question. I mean, I don't know Tibco specifically, but we do compete from time to time with Pega. though I don't admittedly know much about Pega. But decisions really, if you are a developer, then the most helpful thing to think about is decisions is really just a visual programming language, and you can build. I got to create a place for myself to work here. 12:6, and you can build flows that I think you can think about flows as methods. So for example, just really quickly, I'll build a flow here. This flow is a little bit of logic that can be called from anywhere else in the system. And just like a method, I can add inputs to it. I can click this green step, click show editor here, and I can create, let's say, I'm going to create a custom step here that's going to add 2 numbers. So it's going to take a number 1 and number 2. I'm then going to find in my step toolbox the right actual step. If you were to look at this step, you'll find it actually just calls the addition step in .NET. I'm going to map in my values. So I'll pass number 1 into value 1, number 2 into value 2. This is an add step. It'll add 2 numbers and output the value for me. And then I can create an output value here, which will be called, added output or something. I'll select a type. And then I'm going to pass in, I'm going to do a select value again. I'm going to get the output of my add step, which is add 1 output. I can see that by clicking add and looking at add 1 output under the output section here. Once I have that in place, I now have a bit of reusable logic, and I can create another flow. And now if I want to, I can call that bit of logic in this flow. So if I come down here to designer entities, flows, current folder, I can bring flow 1 in. And now you'll notice if we look at the inputs and outputs of this, I see number 1 and number 2, each of which is an integer. Those are the inputs I defined on the start step. And I see an output here called added output of type integer, which is the output I defined on the end step of that flow. So I've created a little bit, a tiny bit of reusable sort of business logic here. And I like to think, and I think it's helpful for someone who's a traditional developer to think about flows as being methods. And then we can call this, we can start calling this thing as an API. We can put this in a flow that has alongside user interface elements like forms. We can do all sorts of things. What I'd say is, if you're brand new to decisions and you haven't yet had the opportunity, I'd be happy to have someone reach out and give you some information about getting access to our training courses. Right now, all of our information is available on our documentation site, including our getting started. 7 features, where's getting started at? Introduction to decisions, installation guide, introduction. Where do we? I haven't looked for this.
Our getting started is still currently a work in progress, but we have our introduction decisions and stuff from there.
Oh, okay. That's unfortunate. Either way, this is all of our documentation is available online at documentation.decisions.com. We've got a training program. You can sign up for that on our events page, which is decisions.com/events. And you can see upcoming trainings here. Looks like we have a decisions developer training on the 13th, but that registration is closed. We have another one starting again on the 17th. But yeah, so what I would say is, yes, I'm sure if you can see the visual programming paradigm that Decisions has here on the screen. If you think about flows as methods that you would write in Java, and then you have access to our documentation, and you can get signed up for training as well. We've got a 1-week training and a 6-week certification course that can really get you up and running in terms of figuring out how our application's architected, as well as how to use it to solve your particular problems. Okay, what else do we have today? Yeah, and to your question about, yes, we give you access to training servers if you sign up for training. You can also install a local copy of the tool to play around with on a short-term free trial. And you can see that in our installation. Start here, installation requirements, installation guide. This will walk you through how to install it on your local. You can use SQL Express to install this. Yeah, they're correct. There's no unqualified trials at the moment. So if you're working with someone from sales, you'll want to work with them to understand if or when you can get access to a trial. But you can install decisions locally with a 14-day free trial currently. Okay. What other? Oh, all right. David's got a question. Hey, what's up, David? What you got today?
Hey, Will. Wow, my mic is sounding really weird. Does it sound weird for you?
It's a little robotic-y, but it's fine. No big deal.
Okay. Trying to deal with, I guess, files and grabbing them from a network directory and pushing them around and I guess doing something with them in decisions and then moving them to another directory path and then deleting the original file. And I looked at the documentation, and I guess the caveat to this is one of our clients that's still on decisions version 4. So I'm working with that, but I think it would generally apply across all versions. I'm curious how, when you do a load file or a load from path, I'm pretty sure that it's grabbing that and sticking it in decisions file storage on the decision server in the whatever the default directory path is that you have set for your thing, right?
What file is that? The create file step?
The load from path.
Okay, that's a file. Yeah, that's like a file reference step. Okay.
So
where's the file come from?
So they drop it and they store it somewhere in a network or in a defined path in their directory,
right?
Like in a shared folder.
Okay.
So they don't want to pick it up from there and do some processing with it, right? So the way that I've, I guess, figured to do that was to load from path so that I can, because I always know what that path is going to be. It's never going to change. Or I could, I mean, it could be dynamic from a flow, right?
Yeah, sure.
So I want to pull that file up to do whatever processing I need with it, and then drop it into a separate network directory, essentially.
Okay.
So I guess when it loads, it's basically going and grabbing it from that path, and then it does it just go into thin air, because it looks like it puts a copy in the default directory on the decision server in file storage.
Which of these steps on my screen, or is it load from path is what you're using right now?
Load from path, yeah.
Yeah, don't use, this is a file reference step. This is kind of like, this is almost like an internal method step that we expose for you. Just use load file, but give it, this says file name, but it wants the entire path.
It wants the path, right.
So you put the path in here, and then you'll get file data out. And then you could just use like a create file step downstream. So create file, like you could have these, like if you had a job just for some reason that you needed to pick up and move files around.
I see.
Like these two steps would do that, assuming, of course, the service account we're running as has permissions to access, right?
Sure.
Now, I don't think it's in 4, but we did add like load from directory steps that allowed you to override and specify user accounts, like on the step level later on. But like if this was like, see program files, like slash whatever, I guess I should do backslash, right? Text.txt. Not that I have this path or this file. But yeah, this gives you the file data, and then create file, same thing. Pass the data in and give it the full path. And then this will deposit that file wherever you want it to be.
I see. Okay. Yeah, I was going down the path too of, I guess, exploring the file reference and creating the, there's a step that does it to add file references to folder.
Yep.
I guess does that make it easier to work with?
Question. I don't know. Do they need the file in the decisions user interface at all? Like,
Yeah.
are they logging into decisions, or is this just background processing?
No, it's just background process.
Then I think I wouldn't look at that, because that, like, if I were to show you my ticketing system, like, you'd see we use add file reference to folder, but that's to, like, so that I can have like a view of my ticket. Excuse me, and I can see like and I can have the ability to like download any of the attachments right there, and I can track them in the folder. So if I wanted to see, all attachments from a particular customer, I could slice and dice and look at stuff like that. But I don't
see.
think, if you're just loading files, like, then I would just, what I would do is create a global constant that is my like mapping path,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then
yeah.
I would use that constant to just pass it into a load file plus the actual file name, and then do whatever sort of determination you need to in between these two steps to calculate where it needs to go to. And
Yeah,
then you
sure,
just create file to save it somewhere else. And then you should just be able to, and then you could use, I guess, delete file, same thing after the case. So after it created the file, then you could then, again, it says file name, but it wants the whole path. So then you could delete the file that you loaded here after the fact.
Okay. And then whenever you, I guess basically I was using the wrong step right there to do that. So when I load file using this load file step that you have here,
Yep.
this just basically brings that in as flow data in that.
It sure does.
In that flow execution, and then it just goes away whenever that flow completes.
Yep. Right. Exactly right. So if this were to run, you'd load a gig in, you'd write a gig, you delete a gig off the file system, and then the gigabyte in memory data would disappear once it hit its end step.
I gotcha. Okay, that's exactly what I'm looking for. Okay,
And then
that helps.
nothing, like Decisions doesn't know anything at all about this process. Like, there's nothing in the portal that says it's been running or anything like. And oftentimes you probably don't want that. You don't want to see it anywhere. So.
I gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that helps a ton. I think I was just using the wrong. That's isn't not uncommon. I mean, the step says load from path, right? It's it's like, oh, I need to load a file from a particular path. Clearly, I'm going to use load from path, and then clearly the load file step doesn't do a good job of calling out to you that file name means file path plus name. So yeah, we're not doing a awesome job here to help you not make that mistake. Cool.
Yeah, this process should work, and it just presumes that the service account has access to this directory, that directory, and can read, write, and delete from the appropriate directories.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I'm picking them up from I'm just using another step to grab files from directory, and then for each over those to be able to loop over what I need to loop over.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, list files in directory. Yep.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. Yep.
Awesome. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet, man. Happy to help. All right. Anybody? What other questions might we have today? So Nadia, I'm going to ask Sabrina to have whatever person on the sales side might be working out with you to follow up with you. This is really a place where sort of post-sales customers ask questions, technical questions, to get their problem solved. So if you don't mind, we'll follow up offline here and get you some additional information. I don't know the status of any of our free trials right now, or your ability to get access to those. Thank you for the question, though. If you have a technical question about Decisions, I'm happy to answer that.
Yeah, going forward, when I will be doing it, I will ask.
I'm so sorry. What was that?
Going forward, when I will be seeing this tool working, and when I will be getting questions, I will be definitely asked.
Oh yeah, please. Happy. We do these Monday through Thursday noon.
Yes, I saw
Eastern
the
every day.
meeting. I have added in my calendar, and anytime I will attend and see your discussion and learn out of it.
Okay, wonderful.
Thank you. And please, if you can, the salesperson can give me the trial version so that I can do a hands-on before getting into the project.
Absolutely, I'll be happy to. Sabrina, Sabrina will follow up with them and have them reach out to you. All right. Anybody else have questions today? Bit of a light crowd for us today. Nothing else today from from a community. Oh yeah, go ahead, Dave.
Okay, got another one for you. When I want to process this text file that I've been dawdling with, I get a value that has 2 assumed decimal places, and I'm treating it as a string in decisions. Is there a step or like a way that I can format the input into like a mapping step or into a merge string or something like that to be able to tell it that I want it as currency, but I want to assume 2 decimal places on it, if that makes any sense?
Yeah, you need to convert it to a number first.
Right, sure.
So like if you, well, I guess it wouldn't be an int. Is there a convert to decimal? Get number from string decimal. So pass your string into this. Into this step. I don't think this step is new. So I'm assuming you have this in V4. But pass your string in here, and then let's just say I'm just going to pass in like 100.12. And then I'll put create data step here, just so we can see this in the debugger. And let me route around. Oops. Let me route around all this other stuff. But if you look, I'm just going to add a string here. Once we've converted it to an actual number, we can get at the format accessors. Stop. I'm just going to delete these steps. Kind of clean this up a little bit. So if we look here and we map in, we can say select value, and then here's our get number from decimal output, which is a decimal. If you click into this, you can click into currency, and you can click into 2 decimals. And then that will, if you run it, if we look at our input output data, a string comes in, actually changes, that should do that. It gives us this as an output. I don't know this. I don't think it should be happening. But
if I took the decimal out of my string, because I basically don't have the decimal originally, it's just numbers.
Yeah, sure. Let's just do 100.
So it's going to do the same thing.
It should give us 0.00. Yeah.
Oh wow.
This is incorrect. I don't know why it's showing on the input, but this, yeah, it's going to format the number. It'll put a $sign on, and then it'll give you the appropriate number of decimals, even if it's 0. And you can, and that's
okay.
So this is me converting the string to a number, and then if you look at the mapping path here, this is me accessing the number as a currency with 2 decimals, but it turns it into a string.
I see. So on the format of that guy, you're telling it whatever number I give you, go 2 places and put the decimal there.
Right. Exactly right. Yep.
Nice. Okay.
So this is like a default accessor for numbers.
Got it.
That you get. And so there's a bunch of these, like you can see here, we've got currency, percent, default, unformatted. So if you want to just default with 2 decimals, and then you could say with or without your separator, you can have the workflow engine build up that for you automatically.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Okay. Does that get you an answer to that question?
Oh yeah, for sure. That's awesome.
Okay, wonderful. All right, let's see. Alex has got a question here. All right, sir, imagine I have an application that allows user A to see the contents of certain files associated to a case assigned to user A by clicking on a link to the file. From a security point of view, can another user B, see the content of that file by knowing its URL? Okay, so I have like a case, I have 2 cases, right? And decisions. Each of those cases holds a separate set of files.
I think Am I audible?
Yes, I can hear you.
I was just thinking of one case assigned to user A. That case has associated to it, and each of those files can be accessed by clicking on it. Therefore, there's a link behind. There's a URL behind it.
Correct.
Institutions can either download the file or maybe present it in some screen if it is whatever. However, if I know the URL and I'm not user A, I don't have the same credentials. Can I just my browser and see the file that I'm?
You should not be able to. No, you should if you don't have permissions to the parent folder of an entity, and this file would be an entity in this example, then you should not be able to access that at all. Are you seeing something different?
No. I have not created this, but I just wanted to understand the limitations, if any.
Yeah. So because the permission structure is at the folder level, and the contents of the folder. So any entities or even any other folders inside the folder, if there's some sort of folder tree here, are controlled by the permissions on the folder. So if the first thing is, so user A can see the cases that they have, and user B can see the cases that they have only. We're agreed on that part. So if somehow user B got a hold of the URL for a file from user A and tried to load it, they should get a permissions denied error when they attempt to access that URL.
Okay.
In fact, they probably just get redirected to the My Documents page. Is probably what would happen if I had to guess.
Okay. All right. That's an important security issue, right? Because
absolutely, yeah.
Well, if you don't mind, I could actually provide a little extra clarification on this since we tested in QA. It's one of those common test cases that we're constantly verifying that it is secure. It will show an error, kind of like cannot load the screen, sort of if you don't have permissions, and then it'll give you options for open portal or close the screen. But awesome. Yeah, it will be secure, and you will not be able to access it because of the reasons that you described.
Perfect.
Very cool. Awesome. Thanks, Carlos.
Yeah.
Nice to have QA on here providing some additional context. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
No problem. I'm glad to help.
Can I add a follow-on question?
Yes, of course.
The file is saved as a PDF or one of those funny formats. Can I open that file as a PDF in another tab in my browser? Is there any step that allows me to do that?
Yeah, you should be able to. I know that if you save it as a document or you save it as a file reference entity, you get a document URL or a file reference entity URL that you can call. And there's an inform session step that allows you to call URL. So let me see here. Do I have? We can do this really quick. Let's see. Let's create a flow, which is open PDF. New tab. Do I have a safe PDF that I can use?
Imagine that you have one in your C drive. Doesn't matter. We don't need to create it.
Here we go. Yep, here's one. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a document. I'm just going to do this with a document. It would apply to a file reference entity as well. So I'm going to drag over this Miami parking case study. Oh, I didn't mean to import. I meant to say add as document. So now that I have this document here, which is a PDF, I'm going to go to manage get document URL. And I'm just going to copy this document URL. You probably want to do this with a file reference entity, but the general principle is the same here. And then if I come in and I search for inform, I want to find an inform session. And on this, I can change the option to open URL, and I can hard code the URL. And then I can deselect open a new window. And I think if I run this flow, it will, oh, it downloaded the PDF for me. Chrome, that's so I could definitely, well, here we go, which is view PDF. I could build a flow with a form on that. I could put a document viewer. And then on this document, I'll say, and I'm going to pass in the input type is going to be, all right, it'll be document, and it's going to take the document ID. Good grief. Let me just do it. I'm going to just hard code it, but you'll get the idea here. So that wants the document ID, but I'm going to go ahead and just do file data. We can figure out how to pass the file here in a moment. So document type will be file data. Okay, file data, I will say it's constant. I'll drag that thing here. And then what I'll do is configure my integration to be user interface. Done. Let me save this and view. And I can get my URL here. That looks fine. Then I can come back to my open PDF flow. And open PDF in a new tab, and I will replace the calling the file itself with my flow. Now, if I run open PDF new tab, okay, that didn't open in a new window, but that shows me my PDF. Let me change my setting on that. Maybe
you untick the box new window.
I thought that did a pop-up, but maybe that doesn't do a pop-up. Maybe it does a new tab. There it is. So I'm actually calling, you see, I've got a decisions form here, right? This is a decisions form open in a new tab with a document viewer. So what we could do, if we use the document ID, the document idea here is I could get the document's ID. And then what I could do is I could edit my view PDF flow. I could add a parameter here called document ID. Let me just change the setting of this document viewer here. Document viewer, I'll change from file data to document. Then I'm going to save. Now I'm going to pass the document ID in from the start step. I'm going to reload my integration details, which should now include a parameter for document ID, which I can see there. I'm going to go to my view PDF in new tab. I'm going to put in a text merge here. And then I'm going to get a document ID. So what I'll do is add an input to this flow. Oops, excuse me. I'm going to add an input to this flow, which is, I'll just call this document ID. And then document ID will pass into the text merge here. Okay, so if I do this right, so let me get my document ID back. If I come run open PDF, it'll present me, I'll place my document ID in and run. And then it went and downloaded that for me. That's not right. I wasn't expecting that to happen. Let's try this really quick. Okay, that's right. User interface view. Error getting document data. Interesting. What's the problem with that? Oh, I didn't put the actual document ID in. That would be a problem. Sorry, I don't know why that didn't work like I expected it to. Document ID. Okay, that's something's wrong here. Wait, hold on. It didn't take my value. It's just downloading the doc for me. Well, let me figure out why documents aren't working, but the general principle of this should remain the same. The inform session step can let you redirect the user session to a new tab, to a new URL in a new tab where the URL is put here and the new tab, this new window value is true. And then you can have a flow with a form in it that can show you the document. Probably what I would have to do, given something I'm seeing here, is go into integration, internal services, document service, and get data for document. I think get document data. I could then pass in the document ID from my start step here. I could then change this from document to file data. And then I can select the document data output. Now, if I open PDF in new tab, it will, oh yeah, there's document ID, run. Same thing. What did I break? If I just run this with a document ID, there it is. But if I have a document viewer, so anytime, no, but the document viewer has been changed to file data now. This doesn't make any sense. File data, get document data output. I wonder, I'm gonna try this really quick. I mean, integration details. Is it something about the slide out? PDF. Open PDF, configure integration, API service, done. Sorry, everyone, I'm just troubleshooting here now. Trying to figure out why my test scenario is not behaving like I expect it to. All right, and then let me get my document ID. Interesting. Okay, if we interact with a document at all, it downloads it. Well, I think I'll take this offline and figure out why this isn't behaving like I expected to. But Alex, does that help with a general approach or
yeah.
There for you?
Yeah, it's better than where I was before, definitely.
Yeah. But what I would say is like you could add a file reference entity, and then you can get the file reference entity in the same way as the document. And then you could have basically just build a flow. And on these flows, some of the things you can do is you can hide, like you could come to view and we could say, or behavior, and we could say, this is not visible. You can hide like the button so that when you view this, you don't see the button at all. Apparently it is really just a viewer. And in fact, if you look at the CSS container, so if I exit here and I come to System Designers CSS, what we're showing on the right-hand side is actually this. It's just a decisions form. Doing a process style view. It's just a decisions form with a hidden button, so it looks just like but it's a document viewer on a form. But this one happens to be embedded on the page. It's the same principle.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Thank you, sir.
So Carlos, did you happen to see what was going on there? How it behaved differently when I started using document?
Yeah, I did catch a glance on it. I didn't get to catch the full question and exactly what we were aiming for, so I was a little lost.
Okay.
Because it seems like you want to get the document to show by inputting it into the URL, or
It's all right. I think there's just some oddity when we start using document steps in here for some reason that's unclear to me. But that's okay. We can.
I'd have
No,
to
no,
look
no.
a little longer.
Yeah, I think there's just probably something for us to sort out here with the QA team's help. No, now it's behaving well. Okay, I don't know why it's behaving the way it's behaving at all anymore.
What version is what version in?
I think I'm on 7.8. 7.7.1. This is my last test. Okay. So the document viewer just started to behave differently on me for reasons that are unclear to me. User interface. Wait, what's this? Wait, hold on. Setup login. Actions on API. Outputs JSON. Path. Yeah, okay. Well, let me follow back up, Alex. This should work. I don't have any idea why it's not. You can definitely get a new tab to open, as we've demonstrated. So,
thanks.
yeah, sorry about that.
No, no problem. Understand. It happens to me all the time.
Mhm. Go ahead, Nadia. See, Nadia, did you have a question? You have your hand raised. Okay, I guess not. All right. Anybody else have any questions before we wrap it up for today? Okay. All right. Thanks, everyone. Oh, I'm sorry. Say that again.
I'm waiting for the trial version URL.
Yeah, so sorry, that's not going to be able to happen on this call. We're going to have to follow up offline once we get a hold of the sales team for you.
I mailed her, waiting there.
I'm sorry?
I mailed to Evelina.
Okay, yeah, she'll follow up for you, and we'll get you in contact with the appropriate person in our sales org.
Yep, thank you. Good night.
Okay,
Good day.
thank you. Thanks, everyone.